Leo was not a hero. He was just a simple human engineer from Earth. He worked with machines, not people. He liked quiet places, tools in his hands, and problems he could solve with logic. But his life changed the day he was chosen to join a space program meant to build peaceful connections between Earth and other planets. He didn't understand why they picked him, but he had no choice. He left everything behind and boarded the ship. The planet Zephyra was unlike anything he had seen before. The sky was a soft silver blue, and the buildings sparkled like glass towers. The people there looked human, but had glowing eyes and skin that shimmered faintly in the sun. They were taller, graceful, and moved like they were dancing even when they were just walking. Leo was nervous. He didn't speak their language well and didn't know their customs, but he was here to help improve their machines. At first, he stayed in the science quarters, working long hours with Zephyran engineers. He liked the work. It kept his mind busy. Then one day, everything changed again. The queen herself, Inera, visited the lab. She was nothing like he expected. She didn't wear a crown or carry guards around her. She walked quietly, with a soft smile and curious eyes. She asked Leo about his work, his planet, and even what Earth food tasted like. He answered politely, thinking it was just a short visit, but she returned the next day, and the day after. They talked more, about music, about stars, about loneliness. Leo began to see that Inera was not just a queen. She was a person who felt deeply, who carried heavy responsibilities, and who had no one to speak freely with. She said he made her feel normal, and he felt comfortable with her in a way he hadn't felt with anyone in a long time. Weeks passed, and people began to notice. The queen was spending more time with the Earth engineer. Some whispered. Others were shocked. But Inera didn't hide it. She invited Leo to official meetings, sat beside him during feasts, and even took him to her favorite places on the planet, hidden waterfalls, quiet temples, and glowing gardens at night. Leo's feelings grew slowly but surely. He never thought he could love someone so different. But Inera made him feel seen. She listened to him, trusted him, and one night, under the silver moon, she told him something that shook him to the core. "I have chosen you," she said softly. He blinked. "Chosen me? For what?" "To stand beside me, as my companion, my bondmate." Leo didn't know what to say. On Zephyra, this was more than marriage. It was sacred, a choice of the heart and soul. No one had ever chosen a human before. He was shocked, but also deeply moved. He nodded slowly. "I accept." The news spread fast. Some were happy, others confused, but Inera made it clear. Her heart belonged to him. And so Leo moved into the royal palace, where everything changed again. He was now treated like someone important. He had his own room, servants, fine clothes. But he didn't care about that. He cared about Inera. He wanted to learn more about her world, and she wanted to learn more about his. Everything seemed peaceful, until the queen's sister returned. Valus arrived on a glowing ship after years of being away. She was Inera's younger sister, a bold, confident woman known for her fiery nature. While Inera was calm and wise, Valus was wild and unpredictable. She had traveled the galaxies, fought in wars, and refused to be tied down by royal duties. Leo first saw her during a royal dinner. She wore a red dress that seemed to shine like fire. Her eyes locked on his the moment she entered the room. She smiled, but it was not a normal smile. It was sharp, curious, almost challenging. "So, this is the human," she said aloud, walking straight to him. "The one my sister has chosen." Leo stood up politely. I'm Leo. I know, she said, stepping closer than needed. I've heard a lot about you. From that moment, things began to feel strange. Valesse would always find a reason to talk to Leo. At breakfast, during walks, even in the middle of his lessons with Zephyrin tutors. She asked about Earth, about love, about what made him choose Ainera. Sometimes she laughed too loudly. Other times her eyes grew serious when Ainera passed by. Leo felt uncomfortable. He tried to keep his distance, but Valesse seemed to enjoy getting close. He wasn't sure if she was just curious or if there was something else, something deeper. Ainera didn't say much. She watched quietly. Her smile grew thinner over time. Leo could feel the tension in the air, but didn't know what to do. He didn't want to upset Ainera. He didn't want to be rude to her sister either. But Valesse was beginning to cross lines. One day, she met him alone in the garden. "Do you ever wonder," she said softly, "if you were chosen too quickly?" Leo frowned. "What do you mean?" She leaned closer. "You and my sister barely know each other. I wonder if you'd choose differently, if you had another option." He didn't answer. He just walked away, but her words stayed in his mind. For the first time since arriving on Zafara, Leo felt confused. The bond he had with Ainera was real, but Valesse was stirring something inside him, doubt, curiosity, and something else he didn't want to name. He didn't know it yet, but a storm was coming, and soon he would have to make a choice that could change everything. After the strange conversation in the garden, Leo couldn't stop thinking about Valesse. Her words had touched something inside him, something he didn't want to admit. He still cared deeply for Queen Ainera, but now his thoughts were messy. He felt like he was standing between two roads and didn't know which one was right. Valesse didn't stop there. She became bolder with each passing day. She started visiting Leo's workspace without reason. Sometimes she brought gifts, rare crystals, Zephyrin fruits, even handwritten stories of her travels across the stars. Other times she just came to talk. She would sit close, ask deep questions, and look into his eyes like she was searching for something. "I see you, Leo," she said one afternoon. "I don't mean the human from Earth or the Queen's chosen. I mean you, the real you. Don't you ever feel like you're just a piece in someone else's plan?" Leo tried to laugh it off, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. She was getting into his mind, slowly, like a whisper that didn't go away. Ainera noticed the change, too. She said nothing directly, but her behavior changed. She no longer smiled as freely. She asked fewer questions during dinner. Sometimes, she looked at Leo like she was afraid of what he might say. She still held his hand during royal meetings, but the warmth between them had become quiet, like a fire that needed more wood. One evening, the palace held a celebration to honor a Zephyrin holiday. There was music, glowing lanterns, and dances under the stars. Leo stood beside Ainera, dressed in royal blue, trying to enjoy the moment. But he felt eyes on him, and he didn't have to look to know they were Valesse's. Later that night, as the party ended, Valesse pulled Leo aside. "Come with me," she whispered. Before he could respond, she was already walking away. He followed, not because he wanted trouble, but because he needed answers. They stopped at the edge of the palace gardens, where a small glowing pool reflected the night sky. Valesse turned to face him. "Do you love her?" she asked. Leo was silent. "She chose you," Valesse continued. "But did you choose her? Or were you just flattered by her attention? By the idea of being someone special in her world?" "That's not fair," Leo said quietly. "Maybe not," she said. "But I know you. I know you better than she does. She sees you as something pure. I see the whole picture. Your doubts, your fears, your hunger for more. Don't you see? We're the same." Leo shook his head. You're not the same. Valis stepped closer. Then tell me to leave. Tell me you don't feel anything. Tell me right now. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. She smiled. You can't, can you? For a long moment, they stood there in silence. The air between them was heavy. Then Valis said something that made his heart race. I'm not asking you to betray her. I'm asking you to be honest with yourself. You're not hers. Not fully. Not yet. And until you choose, truly choose, you're still free. With that, she turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Leo alone with his thoughts. The next morning, everything felt different. Leo avoided both sisters. He worked longer hours, ate alone, and stayed quiet during palace events. He didn't know how to talk to Ainera without hurting her, and he didn't want to see Valis again until he figured out what he really felt. But Zephyrin life didn't pause for personal problems. A royal council was being held, and both sisters were expected to attend, with Leo, of course, at Ainera's side. That day, something unexpected happened. Both Ainera and Valis invited Leo to 2 different events, scheduled at the same time. One was a formal speech by Ainera, declaring new peaceful missions between planets. The other was a cultural exhibition Valis had planned during her travels, full of rare art, music, and stories from other galaxies. Leo stood between 2 invitations, both given with smiles but heavy meaning behind them. One choice would honor his bond with Ainera. The other would honor the strange pull he felt toward Valis. He made his choice. He went with Ainera. He stood by her during her speech, nodded proudly as she spoke of unity, growth, and the future. People clapped. Leaders from other planets bowed, but something was missing. Ainera noticed it. So did Leo. That night, Ainera didn't speak much. She didn't ask why he seemed distant. She simply looked at him and said, "Your heart is wandering. I can feel it." He looked away. He couldn't lie to her. Later that night, Valis found him in his room. "I saw your choice," she said. "But I don't think you made it for yourself. You made it for her." Leo stood up. "I can't do this, Valis." "Then tell me no," she said. "Look into my eyes and tell me you feel nothing." He stared at her. She stepped closer. The room felt smaller, like the walls were holding their breath. She reached out to touch his hand, and for a moment, Leo didn't move. But then, he pulled away. "I made a promise," he whispered. Valessa's smile faded. For the first time, she looked truly hurt. "She doesn't love you the way I do." "You don't love me," he said softly. "You want to win." Silence. Then, she turned and walked out, her shoulders straight, but her eyes full of something Leo couldn't describe. He sat alone for hours after that. His mind was full of noise, regret, guilt, confusion. But one thing was clear now. Things couldn't stay like this. Soon he would have to face them both. And soon he would have to decide once and for all where his heart truly belonged. After that long and silent night, Leo knew something had broken. Not in a loud or sudden way, but like a small crack in glass that slowly grows with time. His bond with Ainera was still there, but something between them had changed. It was no longer light and easy like before. Now there were quiet questions, unsure glances, and words that stopped halfway in the mouth. Ainera acted strong in front of others. She still walked with pride and gave wise speeches in council meetings. But in private, she had grown distant. She no longer shared her thoughts with Leo like before. She didn't ask him about Earth or laugh at his stories. And when he reached out to her, she smiled politely, then turned away. Leo blamed himself. He had not done anything wrong with Valis, but he had allowed confusion to take root in his heart. and Inera had felt it. She was a queen, but also a woman with feelings. And like any woman in love, she could feel when her partner's heart had begun to drift. Valès, on the other hand, did not hide her feelings anymore. She stopped pretending. One day, she came to Leo's room with no warning. She wore a soft white robe and no jewelry. Her face was calm, but her eyes held a storm. "You're not happy," she said quietly. Leo didn't answer. He sat on the edge of his bed, his hands resting on his knees. "She treats you like a symbol," Valès continued. "You're her message to the world, the brave human she chose to prove unity. But does she ever ask you what you want?" Leo looked at her. "Inera gave me respect, safety, a place in her world. She gave me love." Valès nodded. "Yes, her version of it. But you and I both know something is missing." She stepped closer, slowly, like walking through water. "I'm not asking you to choose me today," she said. "I just want you to see the truth. She needs you to be perfect. I want you just as you are, broken pieces and all." Leo looked into her eyes, searching for the lie. But there wasn't one. She meant every word. Still, he stood up and shook his head. "This is wrong." "Is it?" she asked. "Or is it just easier to call it wrong than admit your feelings?" Leo stepped back. "Please leave." Valès paused for a moment. Then she gave him a sad smile. "I won't ask again, but you know where to find me." She turned and walked out without another word. Leo stood in silence for a long time. He felt like his heart was being pulled in two directions, one by loyalty and duty, the other by a feeling he didn't fully understand yet. The next day brought a new storm. A large royal event was being prepared, a unity celebration where leaders from other planets would come to Zafara. It was an important day for Ainara, and she wanted Leo to stand beside her in front of everyone. It was a sign that their bond was still strong. At the same time, Valès invited Leo to her private performance that evening, a showcase of the music, dances, and memories she had gathered during her journeys. She had been planning it for weeks. It was her heart on display, and she had made it clear that she wanted Leo there. Both events were on the same night, at the same hour. Leo stood between two doors, holding both invitations in his hand. His heart was heavy. He remembered Ainera's kindness, her warmth in the early days, the way she made him feel special. He also remembered her silence lately, the distance that had crept between them like fog. Then he thought of Valès, the fire in her words, the way she looked at him like he wasn't a guest, but a choice. She saw his doubts, his fear, and still wanted him. In the end, Leo made his choice. He went to Ainera. The celebration was grand. Lights sparkled in the air, and music from many planets played across the gardens. Ainera stood tall, dressed in royal gold. She looked at Leo when he arrived and gave a soft, grateful smile. She didn't ask where else he might have gone. She simply reached for his hand, but the warmth was gone. Her fingers felt cold, as if they were made of stone. Leo stood beside her, nodding politely at the guests, but his mind was not there. He kept thinking of Valès, standing alone in a quiet hall, waiting for someone who never came. After the guests left, Ainera and Leo walked together in silence through the palace halls. Finally, she stopped. "I know. You had another place to be tonight," she said, her voice gentle but tired. Leo looked down. "I chose you." "No," she replied softly. "You chose not to hurt me. That's different." He didn't know what to say. Ainera turned away, her voice barely a whisper now. "Do you still choose me, Leo? Knowing everything? Knowing her, he wanted to answer. He wanted to say yes, but the words didn't come. Ainera didn't cry. She didn't shout. She simply walked away, leaving Leo standing in the cold hallway. Later that night, Leo returned to his room. A servant brought him a message. It was short. I waited, but I understand now. You're not ready to choose anyone. Valis. Leo sat on the floor, staring at the note. He had hurt them both, one by not being honest, and the other by staying silent. For the first time since coming to Zephyrah, he didn't feel like an honored guest or a chosen companion. He felt like a man lost in a world too complicated for his heart to handle, and he knew this was only the beginning. The real decision had not yet been made, but soon it would be. The palace felt colder now. The lights still glowed and the air still smelled sweet from the flowering trees, but Leo no longer felt at home. He moved through the hallways quietly, avoiding both Ainera and Valis. Every step he took reminded him of the choice he didn't fully make and the hearts he had hurt without meaning to. For days, Ainera didn't speak to him. She remained polite during public meetings and meals, but when they were alone, silence filled the space between them. She didn't ask where he had been or what he felt. She simply looked at him with sad eyes, as if she already knew the answer, but didn't want to hear it from his mouth. Valès, on the other hand, had disappeared from sight. She had returned to her personal quarters and had stopped attending royal events. Rumors spread across the palace that she was planning to leave Zephyrah again. Some said she was hurt. Others believed she had lost interest. But Leo knew the truth. She had offered her heart, and he had left her waiting in the dark. One morning, an elder counselor from the palace requested to meet with Leo. The elder was known as Orin, a wise Zephyran who had lived through many royal storms. He was calm, quiet, and his words always carried meaning. They met in the ancient library, a place where history was written in glowing scrolls and soft music played from the walls. "You look tired," Orin said gently. Leo nodded. "I feel like I've lost everything, even though I tried to do what was right." Orin smiled kindly. Doing what is right does not always mean doing what is true. Sometimes, the hardest thing is not choosing between good and bad. It is choosing between two different kinds of love. Leo sat down, looking lost. "I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I want." The old man leaned forward. "Ainera is wise and loyal. She gave you peace. Valis is wild and open. She showed you your hidden self. But only one of them sees the part of you that you want to grow. Only one matches the kind of man you truly are inside. You must find that answer not by thinking, but by listening to your heart when you are completely alone." Leo spent the rest of the day in silence. He didn't speak to anyone. He walked through the gardens, watched the skies, and even returned to the small waterfall where Ainera had once taken him. He remembered her gentle laugh, her quiet strength, and the comfort he had felt in her presence. Then he remembered Valès, the fire in her voice, the way she challenged him, the strange pull that made him feel both scared and alive at the same time. He asked himself the question Orin had given him. Which version of himself did he want to grow? That evening, something unexpected happened. A royal announcement was made across the palace. Princess Valis had requested permission to leave Zephyrah again. She planned to board her ship at dawn. Ainera did not stop her. Leo knew what this meant. If he let her go now, she would never come back. And if he stayed, Ainera would remain by his side. But a quiet, cold version of the woman he once knew. That night, he was called to Ainera's chambers. She stood by the window, wearing a simple robe, her crown resting on a table beside her. She didn't look like a queen, just a woman with a tired heart. "I hear Valis is leaving," she said. Leo nodded. Ainera turned to him. You don't have to explain. I've seen it in your eyes for weeks. You still care for me, but you don't belong here anymore, do you? He stepped forward. I never wanted to hurt you. You didn't hurt me, she said gently. You just showed me that even a queen cannot hold a heart that no longer beats for her. There was a long pause. Then she added, But I have one last question, and I need the truth. Leo looked at her. If Valis wasn't leaving, would you still stay with me? His heart pounded. He knew what the right answer should be. He should say yes. He should give her peace. But instead, he closed his eyes and told the truth. No, he whispered. Ainara nodded slowly. Her lips trembled, but she held her tears back. She walked over, took his hands in hers, and said softly, Then go. Find her. If you wait until morning, it will be too late. Leo stood frozen. Go, she said again. He didn't waste another second. He ran through the palace halls, his feet echoing against the marble floors. He passed curious guards and silent maids. He reached the spaceport just as Valesse was boarding, her ship. She saw him and stopped. I thought you made your choice, she said quietly. I did, he said, breathing hard. I was just too scared to admit it. She didn't speak. I choose you, he said. Not because you're wild or different. Not because I'm lost. I choose you because when I'm with you, I feel alive. I feel like I'm finally me, Valesse. Looked at him for a long time. Then she walked over and hugged him. Not like someone taking something, but like someone finally letting go of pain. I waited, she whispered. And now, you're here. As the sun began to rise, the ship remained on the ground. Ainara, from her tower window, watched them together. A tear fell down her cheek, but there was a strange peace in her eyes. She had lost her chosen one. But she had gained something greater, the strength to let him go. After Leo made his choice and joined Valesse, things did not become easy overnight. The palace buzzed with rumors, and some people whispered about the human who left the queen for her sister. Yet Leo did not care about gossip. He only cared about finding where he truly belonged. Valesse was different from Ainara in many ways. She was wild, free, and spoke her mind without fear. But she also had a softness hidden beneath her strong exterior, a softness that Leo slowly began to see. She was not just jealous or angry. She was a woman who had waited a long time to be loved for who she truly was. At first, Valesse and Leo spent time exploring the outer parts of Zephyrah. She showed him her favorite places, quiet forests with glowing flowers, crystal caves that sang when the wind passed through, and hidden lakes where the stars reflected like mirrors. Leo felt alive in these moments. He laughed more, moved faster, and thought more clearly. It was as if a weight had been lifted from his heart. He could be himself without the pressure of royal duties or expectations. Still, the past was not easy to forget. One day, Ainara sent a message. It was short but kind. She invited Leo and Valesse to visit her in the palace garden. They were not sure what to expect, but they both felt a strange pull, something unfinished between the three of them. When they arrived, Ainara was waiting under a large tree. Her eyes were calm, and her smile was peaceful. I wanted to thank you, she said softly, for choosing honesty, for following your heart, even when it was hard. Valesse nodded. You were always kind, Ainara. I never wished to hurt you. Ainara looked at Leo. And you, Leo, you have grown much since you came here. You are not just a visitor anymore. You are part of our story. They talked for hours, not as queen, sister, and human, but as three souls who had shared pain, love, and loss. They understood that life was not about perfect choices, but about learning and forgiveness. After that day, Leo, Valis, and Ainara found a new balance. Valis returned to her travels, but visited the palace often, no longer as a rival but as family. Leo became a bridge between Earth and Zafara, respected not only for his skills, but for his courage to be true. Ainara ruled with wisdom and kindness, never forgetting the lessons of love and letting go. She opened her heart to new possibilities, knowing that love could take many forms. Leo's journey from a simple engineer to a man caught between two sisters was not easy, but it taught him something precious, that love is never simple, but it is always worth fighting for, in truth and in freedom. And in the quiet stars above Zafara, the story of the alien queen, her jealous sister, and the human who chose his own path became a legend. A story of hearts bound not by power, but by choice.